The Once and Future Nerd. Book 1, Princes of Jordan. Chapter 2, Life in a Corner. Episode 1. Erona Regan had just had 5 men she didn't know try to kill her, and survived with the help of 1 man, 1 elf, 1 woman, and 3 children whom she also did not know. Also some flaming brandy. Sadly, this was not nearly as surprising to her as the news her new acquaintances brought.
I'm a fucking princess?
More than a princess. Sole heir to the high throne.
And this is the first time anyone thought to let me know.
Don't play the child. You understand legitimacy.
Yeah, it means I grew up hungry just because someone didn't want to admit to his friends where he'd been sticking his royal cock.
Mind your filthy tongue.
Or what? I'm royalty, right?
Part of being royalty is acting as becomes your title.
Go fuck yourself, splint a pole. Oh wait, that wasn't very ladylike. Excuse me. Hark! Verily I hereby decree that you all shall fuck yourselves. How's that?
You are certain she's the one?
I'm gonna need that decree honored if you want me to believe this story you're telling.
I'm offering you a new life. You'll want for nothing.
Sorry, not buying it. Who says wherever you take me, half the city guard isn't waiting for me?
I've only my word to offer.
In Regan's experience, a man offering her only his word invariably intended to rob her blind and murder her. With a look of contempt, she rose to leave.
It must be exhausting, sister. Always waiting for the next betrayal. Come with us and look over your shoulder just long enough to find out if the general speaks true. Stay and look over your shoulder for the rest of your life.
As Regan weighed Nia's words, she saw with a tinge of regret a wasted, charred piece of meat on the floor, her table knife still protruding from it. And next to it, with much more regret, she saw a steak she didn't finish.
Let's say I go along with this. I'd have to pop out some noble asshole's shitty kids, right?
Not immediately, but for the Tarlo here to protect your rule throughout your life, yes, you would need to produce an heir.
Fuck that.
Think of the influence you would have.
Queen Dagmar, peaceful be her rest, did a great deal of charity in this very city, educating and feeding the unfortunate, children like yourself.
If they're willing to suckle the royal tit for a few little drops, they're not like me.
Then think of the power. You are the kind who takes rather than asks, I can tell. And by yourself, you've taken a modest little living down in this God's forsaken hole. Imagine what you could take with a few thousand swords at your command.
Regan was beginning to recognize the appeal of this offer when Yilloween was startled by a sound too faint for his companions to hear.
Someone's coming. Armed men. About a score.
Fuck. City guard. Was this the plan, assholes? Keep me talking until they showed up?
We had planned this. Why would the elf warn you they were coming?
Everyone remain calm. The king's crest will stay the city guard.
Good idea. Why don't you just walk over there and talk to them?
Brennen appeared to have misunderstood Regan's sarcasm, as he strode to the door expecting just such a conversation. The guards initiated conversation by lobbing an incendiary device at the door of the tavern. The fire spread rapidly, igniting the sawdust that covered the floor.
Holy shit! Fire!
Behind the bar. Get beer.
Your plan is to start drinking?
For the fire, you idiot. God damn it, where did the Regan go?
Places like this always have a trapdoor or a secret exit or something. I bet the rogue snuck out.
Damn it, Nelson, this isn't one of your games. These aren't characters, that's a real fire, and we're all really going to die.
Galadin's mercy, the boy was right. Everyone, climb in here.
There was indeed a trapdoor, located in the floor behind the bar. Billy jumped in, feet first, without regard to what lay within. I suppose he assumed that nothing could be worse than the fire above. In fact, many things lurking in the sewers of Armstrungard were much, much worse than the fire. But luckily, only one of them was present in this sewer at this moment.
Is everyone all right?
How'd they like the king's crest?
The aforementioned thing lurking in the sewer emerged from the shadows carrying a mud-crusted bedroll. An explosion from above shook the tunnel.
That'll be the last of this year's brandy going up in flame. So I guess the gods really are dead.
Were you gonna tell us about that trapdoor?
I still wasn't convinced you hadn't called in the cavalry on me. Plus, I figured you probably couldn't lead me to a lifetime of wealth if you couldn't survive a dance with a city god.
You're quick to accuse the city guard, yet you never saw our attackers.
Burning down a whole building on the off chance I'm in it? You gotta be city god.
Man, I thought Philly cops were pricks.
You thought Philly cops were pricks?
If I wanted to check out your story, where would I be headed?
Castle Guernetor, and no one else knows who you are, so you'll need us to accompany you.
Guess we should get moving then.
With that, Regan turned and strode confidently down the dim tunnel. Actually, strode may be too strong a word, as the height of the ceiling demanded a fair amount of stooping and shuffling. Still, Regan was substantially more sure-footed than those in the group not practiced in the art of sneaking through sewers.
Do that many people really want you dead?
The bounty on my head usually changes between substantial and obscene. I'd guess it's on the upswing right now.
But city guardsmen can't collect a bounty, can they?
Not according to the law.
Precisely my point.
I think she's implying that they collect bounties anyway.
Lawmen breaking the law? That would be perverse and repugnant.
I take it none of you knows anywhere we could hide out for a while, huh? The road would be a bad idea right now.
As a matter of fact, I may. Can you get us out on the east side of the city?
Shouldn't be a problem.
Do people try to kill you every day?
No one upstairs knows what I look like, unless an asshole like the late Keith Kelly decides to point me out. Most don't.
Oh, I bet you're the leader of some kind of guild of rogues, right? Like Honor Among Thieves?
I don't know what you heard about thieves on a kid, but I'm still alive because everyone knows what happens when you fuck with me.
Our story will now take a brief interlude back to Castle Guernetal. Arlene Redmore, the sister of Lord Ardell Redmore, was resting in her modest bedchamber. Of course, by modest, I mean the gold therein could have fed the underworld of Armstrungard for a mere 3 months. Arlene stared out her depressingly narrow window with concern at a thin pillar of smoke on the horizon. Gwen, her handmaiden, entered the room, carrying breakfast on a tray.
Your breakfast, milady.
Thank you, Gwen. You can set it down over there. Remind me what I ordered.
Quail's eggs. Toasted bread with honey and boiled oats with cream, milady.
Arlene smiled warmly at Gwen. In fact, all signs of her previous brooding had vanished when Gwen arrived.
Funny that I would order quail's eggs. I've never liked them.
The smile which Gwen returned to her lady was of a more mischievous variety. It became downright cheeky as Gwen plucked a quail egg from the tray and popped it into her own mouth.
Come, sit. Have you heard anything?
I wouldn't have thought anything of it if you hadn't told me to listen. But I overheard from Helga in the kitchen.
Helga?
She's the handmaiden to Arabella Coralin.
The daughter of the court philosopher.
The same, milady. Helga says Maid Coralin, the poor dear, has been plagued with nightmares as of late. Something about soldiers.
See if you hear any more about Lord Coralin. Thank you, Gwen.
I live to serve, milady.
The formality of her words was for the benefit of potential eavesdroppers, but the gentle touch of Gwen's hair and the small kiss on her forehead were for the benefit of the two women alone. Our party of travellers had by this point escaped from the tunnels of the city of Armstrungard without detection. A light snow fell on their heads as they strolled down the narrow path between two fields, barren for the winter.
You say your friend owns these lands?
A man I knew in the army. He was the owner when last I was in Armstrungard.
And if he is no longer the owner?
We'll very politely explain our right to commandeer property to the new owners. One way or another, we need to stay out of sight for a few days.
As they travelled, our group naturally tended to segregate themselves, as Nelson, Jen, and Billy lagged behind the rest of the group. This was partially due to the fact that, as much as Jen and Billy considered themselves athletes, this claim was proving increasingly ill-founded. It was also due to Jen's disinclination to be anywhere near Erona Regan.
So I've been thinking about party roles and how our arrangement is not ideal.
Nelson, what part of our situation is ideal?
Ideally, the party would have exactly one of each role.
You sure you can trust this friend of yours?
Brennen is clearly the paladin.
He is loyal, nearly to a fault.
Regan is the rogue.
Dogs are loyal until someone else dangles a bigger slab of meat in front of them.
Nia is the cleric.
You know, if you want to have any kind of a good life, at some point you'll need to put faith in something.
Nelson, what the hell are you babbling about?
Well, you keep worrying about a good life, preacher lady. I'll worry about keeping my life.
And Yellowween is the ranger.
Even if you've no concern for honor or dignity, foresight is advantageous.
Is there a point you're trying to make here?
Foresight? I'm the only one here without a whole bunch of bullshit about honor and duty clouding my eyes.
Yeah. Billy, your fighting style is clearly going to be based on physical strength.
Damn
because it's
straight.
not going to be based on intelligence.
Wait, what?
But Brennen is already the physical fighter.
Are you so willing to dismiss the cornerstones of civilization?
No, Brennan. I'm willing to dismiss civilization.
I'm clearly predisposed to magic, but Nia does magic.
Without civilization, man reverts to his beast-like instincts.
Beast-like. A hound fucks a bitch without shame and then sticks around to help feed the litter. Men could use some more beast-like instincts.
Though I suppose, if need be, I could focus on dark magic.
Don't joke about such things, child.
And Jen, I really have no idea what your role is in all of this. Your agility and overly revealing outfit kind of peg you as a rogue.
You told me to wear this outfit.
Good point. You're not really as self-reliant as most rogues.
Why don't I self-rely your teeth into your throat, you little...
All that outfit mocks her as is an easy kill.
The blunt assessment of Jen's mortality struck the three children hard, especially Jen herself. After a tense moment of silence, Jen stormed off ahead of the group.
Honey, what the fuck is wrong with you people?
Billy ran after Jen. Yellowween moved to follow.
Let them go, but keep them in sight. Was that necessary?
What? It's shitty armor.
Have you no heart at all? That girl's terrified of you.
Don't let her get to you, babe. She's probably just on the rag.
She almost killed me.
Why? I didn't even cut her.
She's not like us.
Whoa
You cannot
there,
just...
Grandpa. What us? I'm not anything like you.
You're not very close with your traveling companions.
They're not really my companions. We just kind of wound up together.
They don't treat you very kindly, do they?
Jen's okay on her own, but if Billy gets on a roll, she doesn't do much to stop him.
I was right there, Jenny. I wasn't gonna let anything...
Billy, stop. Just leave it be, okay?
You and I do not take every blade at our throats personally. Most people do.
Most people are badly mistaken about what kind of world we live in.
And why does that bother you so?
The remainder of the trip passed in a rather awkward silence. Eventually, the group reached their destination, which turned out to be a large, run-down farmhouse. One of my friend sprites insists that this particular farmhouse was once beautiful and prosperous. Its present state led me to believe that this friend is a liar.
Well, well, well. The king's man knows how to slum it. Not for anything general, but this doesn't seem like any place to bring a princess.
I told you, God damn you! After the next harvest... The bellowing voice belonged to the owner of the farm, a man by the name of Bowen Briarhelm. Briarhelm had been fit once. He had been wealthy once. He had been drinking recently. He had arrived at the door wielding a woodcutter's axe. Upon seeing Brennen, he lowered the weapon, although he did not loosen his grip on the handle.
Good morning, Captain Briarhelm.
Get ready and bugger me.
The group soon found themselves seated around a cracked table in the farmhouse. There were not enough seats for everyone, so Briarhelm stood in a corner.
When I prayed last night, I'd swore I'd rather see anyone at my door than another tax collector. I guess I lied.
Have you no sense of duty to the realm?
Leave this to me, Caltier. We are sorry to impose on you like this. We have coin to compensate you for the use of your property. And if you're having trouble with your debts...
You'll pay exactly what I'd charge a boarder. No less, no more. Piss on your charity, Brennen. You can stay in the barn.
A barn? You're shitting me.
Shut up. Do you still keep an armory?
I don't maintain most of it, but yes.
We'd like to purchase some of your arms as well, to train my squires here.
Wait, for real?
You have girl squires now.
Camp followers.
Briarhelm weighed his incredulity at this statement against his history with Brennen.
Let me go fetch the armory key.
I thought you said he was your friend.
I said I knew him in the army. Everyone note, meet me by the barn. We'll not be ungracious guests.
Fuck this, man. At least you get a mattress in Pennsylvania.
Billy's protests aside, the group trudged out. As the rest of the group left the room, Brennen pulled Regan back for a private word with her.
All things considered, I think it's best if Captain Briarhelm...
I don't care what you tell your little friend there, Brennen. As long as nobody else finds out I'm here, we don't have a problem.
Regan left, and Bowen returned from upstairs.
I don't believe for a second that they're squires and camp followers.
Bowen.
Save your breath. King's secrets, I know. But if there's any more trouble here, it will ruin me. If trouble is going to find them, if what we've been through together means anything to you, tell me now.
The two men stared at each other for quite some time, as Brennen considered the best way to lie to the man whose history did in fact mean something to him.
There's nothing to worry about.
Good. I can give you the barn for a week. Then I need to make preparations for planting.
That will be fine.
My armory's in the cellar behind the house. Here's the key.
Thank you, Bowen.
It was now early afternoon, and our party found themselves in the fields of the Briarhelm farm. For the first time in quite a while, nobody present was actively attempting to slaughter our heroes. As such, the group took the opportunity to relax in the cool afternoon sunlight. Billy and Jen walked away from the group to engage in more private conversation.
I'm sorry I was bitchy to you before.
It's all right. But I'm the only one who's always got your back, so just watch your temper, you know?
I know. I'll, make it up to you later.
Jen leaned in to kiss Billy, but just as their private conversation was about to become a good deal more private and less conversational, Nelson ran to catch up with them.
Hey guys, so I'm starting to think...
Nelson, shut the fuck up! I'm talking to my girl.
Jen quickly took a step away from Billy, using the excuse of looking through her handbag. She found a device known as an iPhone.
Oh, no shit, honey. Your phone still works?
It's still got a charge, but I can't get any kind of signal.
So Apple Maps will be pretty useless here, huh?
Yeah.
At least that's one thing that's like home.
Meanwhile, back at Castle Guernatal, Arlene Redmore was preparing for a formal evening of court functions. As was common for the highborn of Jordan, this preparation was accomplished with the assistance of her handmaiden, Gwen. Ardell Redmore burst into the room, without warning or regard for his sister's state of relative undress, and with a scroll in hand. By this point in our story, it probably does not surprise you that Ardell wasted no breath on greetings or pleasantries with his dear sister.
Read this story to your wench. You are to memorize this story as though it were your own dream. Tonight, the two of you will wake the bishop, and she will recount the dream to him.
Brother, she's not trained as a thespian.
I'm sure she can manage one story. You'd be very well advised to see that she does.
And without another word, Ardell turned and left the room, leaving the two women to ponder on the oddity of this request. Back at the farm, the party had its first opportunity to take in the beauty of the Ordic autumn. Unfortunately, they were interrupted by Brennen. He returned from the house with a large, heavy bundle, which he dropped on the ground at Jen and Billy's feet.
Everyone listen. We need to stay here a few days, and I want to take the chance to teach you young ones the basics of armed combat, in case you need to defend yourselves.
You know, if we just looked for a way to get us home, no one would have to teach us anything.
Are those real swords?
They're blunted, but before you start swinging them at each other, let's have a demonstration of experienced fighters. Kaltir.
Gladly.
Regan.
Huh?
Would you like to spar with Yelloween?
My mom says it'll make you blind.
Spa?
A pretend fight.
Is there any actual thing in it for me?
May I have a word in private?
Not to be a stickler for tradition, but shouldn't you be calling me Your Highness?
Would you please excuse us for a moment, children?
No more of this sending us away while the grown-ups talk shit. Say what you want.
If we all had to fight, how do you think our young companions would fare?
I'd say almost as well as some boiled horse shit.
Hey, fuck that.
Really?
I hope you want to be insulted, but I cannot very much argue.
No, it's true. We all need to level up a bunch.
My primary mission is to bring you back to claim the throne. But I've also been ordered to keep them safe, which at the moment means keeping them near us. Which means if there's a fight, they'll be fighting alongside you.
Is that negotiable?
No. So it is in your interest to concern yourself with their training.
Regan carefully studied the children for a moment. To her disgust, she reached the same conclusion as Brennen. With a sigh, she reluctantly stood and walked to face Yelloween.
Give it your best shot, splinter pole.
With the arrogance that only an adolescent elf could muster, Yelloween charged head-on towards the rogue. Regan stood unflinching, almost lazily in the elf's path. But at the final possible moment, with unbelievable quickness, she nimbly stepped aside, grabbed Yelloween by the shoulder and waist, and used his own speed to throw him to the ground. The elf hit the ground hard.
Weenie, you just got your ass handed to you by a girl.
You're rooting for her?
Don't tell me you're rooting for Weenie.
In an instant, Yelloween was back on his feet. This time, he studied his opponent for a moment before charging. His approach appeared identical, only this time, when Regan went for the same grapple, her hands grasped empty air. A cat-like dodge allowed Yelloween to evade Regan's grab and set the rogue off balance. A sharp, open-handed blow to the sternum put the thief queen of Armstrungard on her back. Yelloween turned his back to his fallen opponent, a smirk on his face, and addressed the children.
Now you see, proper training and good breeding will always win out in the end. The general and I can provide the former. As for the latter...
Yelloween's pontificating was interrupted by his sudden reacquaintance with the rocky ground. While he had been busy describing his victory, Regan tripped her opponent, pinned him to the ground, and unsheathed his hunting knife, all in one adept motion. Regan's right hand grabbed a handful of Yelloween's hair and used it to yank his head uncomfortably. Her left hand brought the knife to Yelloween's throat, also uncomfortable.
Yield.
Fine.
What was that?
I yield.
Rule number 2 for surviving a fight to the death. No fucking speeches. If you absolutely must make a speech, wait until you're sure the other guy is done.
What's rule number 1?
Only now did Regan release her captive elf.
Try that again, you silt sucker.
That me.
As mad as Yelloween was, one look at Brennen quieted him. Brennen stood in front of Regan and slowly stretched his neck left, then right. He cracked his knuckles loudly, and then slowly reached for his battle axe.
Let's dance, Grandpa.
You never said what rule number 1 was.
Nelson's question was ignored as the two combatants squared off for the fight. Each stared menacingly at the other. Regan shifted her weight from side to side, as if looking for an opening. Brennen stood still as a statue, looking as imposing and immovable as a mountain. The children, although they did not realize it, had been holding their breath for an interminable moment. Suddenly, Regan looked beyond Brennen, off towards the horizon. Her face showed surprise and worry.
I think the lessons are gonna have to wait.
What Regan had seen was an opportunity to kick Brennen, as Billy would later go on to describe it, and I quote, square in the nuts. She delivered the kick as soon as Brennen had turned his back. Just like the elf before him, the big man hit the ground hard and soon had Regan's knife at his throat.
Yield!
You cheating mongrel!
Rule number 1 for surviving a fight to the death. Don't expect your enemy to follow any rules. He'll do anything to stay alive, so should you.
Her lessons imparted, Regan finally released Brennen. He immediately fell to his side and vomited profusely. Regan threw down Yellowwing's blade and calmly strode back towards the barn, leaving the children to reflect on the outcome of the bout. In fact, the adults partook in some reflection as well.
Fighting without honor leads to a disordered soul.
I'll take that over a disordered nutsack.
She may win fights, but she'll never know peace.
Dishonor also sows distrust among allies, and that has lost many a battle.
Having no principles makes it easier to preserve your life, but impossible to know if your life is worth preserving. We'll resume training tomorrow.
I'll make you some ice.
It was horrible, Your Eminence.
The tabernacle was a sanctuary within Castle Guernatal, devoted to the worship of Galadon.
It was the most beautiful bird I'd ever seen. But then the man with the golden circle on his head, he bit his poor little head right off.
The room was extravagantly adorned. Sun shone through the large stained glass windows, casting concentric circles of light onto the floor. These circles overlapped with the circles of gold inlaid into the marble floors and walls. Of all the beautiful rooms in Castle Guernatal, I'm told that this one was the favorite of the late Prince Uther. Presently, however, it was occupied by Arlene, Gwen, and the ancient head priest.
When I remembered General Brennen's dream, I hope I haven't wasted your time, Your Eminence.
Of course not, my child. Now is a time to err on the side of caution.
Does it mean anything, Your Eminence?
My child, dream analysis is an art more than a science. Your dream could mean any of 1,000,001 things, or it could just be a dream. Maid Redmore was wise to bring it to our attention, but you needn't worry your little heart about it any further.
Gwen, would you please wait for me outside?
As you wish, milady.
Your Eminence, I understand if you don't want to worry the serving girl, but is there anything I should be worried about?
No, my child. Have a cup of brandied tea and try to sleep.
I don't mean to presume or to question your wisdom, Your Eminence, but if you mean to spare me worry on account of my sex, I assure you it will worry me more to not know whether my brother is in any danger.
As if summoned by the speaking of his name, Ardell appeared at the door to the tabernacle and strode in.
There you are. I awoke in the night with a peculiar feeling and was worried when you weren't in your chambers. Are you well?
Yes, brother. My handmaiden had a nightmare and insisted upon seeing the bishop.
Yes, I know how superstitious commoners can get.
Under the circumstances.
Yes, of course, as long as you're all right.
Lord Redmore, I wasn't going to call on you at this hour, but as long as you're awake and here, perhaps I could have a word.
Of course, Your Eminence. Arlene, run off to bed now, my dear.
Come, let us walk.
Ardell Redmore was well aware of the pace of the head priest's talking, and of his walking, for that matter. He hid his impatience well, however, and took the old man's hand. Meanwhile, Arlene found Gwen waiting in the hallway outside the shrine.
I'm sorry, milady. I didn't know how to warn you.
As far as he knows, I was just doing as he told.
Did the bishop reveal anything?
No, my brother came in before I could ask him much.
First made Corlin's dream, and then this story.
Do you know anyone who could discreetly fetch us some things from the royal library?
The moon and aurora had risen over the Briarhelm farm. Yelloween stood guard at the barnyard door, rhythmically sharpening his hunting knife. Within the barn lay a neat row of bales of hay, the only mattresses available for the barn's guests. Neas slept soundly atop the first bale. Nelson likewise slept on the second. His armor and weapons were, of course, neatly folded and arranged by his side. The remaining bales, however, were unoccupied. There was a ladder up to the second floor of the barn, which Jen and Billy had ascended in hopes of finding some privacy. As Jen kissed Billy, he in his small clothes, and she in her recently purchased armor, she became very aware of his well-formed muscles. When Billy reached down and unfastened a single strap on Jen's waist, the entire lower part of her attire slid free.
Billy. Free advice.
What the fuck is your problem?
Regan emerged from the shadows of the barn and casually strode into the dim light, trimming her fingernails with her knife.
If he can fuck you after undoing one strap, you're not wearing armor. I got you something.
Regan sheathed her knife, and then kicked a large bundle of cloth across the floor towards Jen. Jen stared at it suspiciously. Regan nudged it closer to Jen and nodded. Jen opened the package to find a suit of heavy leather armor studded with steel bands. The armor clearly was designed to cover all of a woman's vital organs, not just the ones that teenage boys considered vital.
The design should keep you mobile, except, also actually protect you. You got me armor? Piece it together best I could. You want an actual smith to toughen up those rivets first chance you get, but it'll do you a lot more good than the shit you've been wearing.
Hey, she likes
I'm talking to her.
Why do you care about my clothes?
For starters, our fates, unfortunately, seem to be intertwined for the time being. So I'd much rather you dress like a fighter than a dead meat sausage in a whore casing.
Jesus! Are you always this flattering?
And rule number 3 for surviving a fight to the death: settle your debts before the fight starts. People do stupid things when they think you owe them something.
Excuse me?
We're even now, right?
You said you would, quote, fucking gut me like dinner, and now you give me some clothes, and we're supposed to be even?
I didn't draw blood.
But you would have?
I would do what everyone does, which is anything I fucking need to survive.
Well, then you can understand.
I'm sorry. I thought I was talking to a woman, not a little girl. My mistake.
Without waiting for a response, Regan turned and descended the ladder, leaving the two children alone. Jen stood wordlessly for a moment, staring uncomprehendingly at the rogue's gift. Quite some time had passed at Castle Guernatal, meaning Ardell's conversation with the head priest had only just begun.
What do you think this dream means?
Divining the meaning of a dream is not like, say, mixing a potion. The purposes of the elements can vary depending on the circumstances.
You've said as much, but surely you consider some possible meanings more likely than others?
The head priest suddenly stopped walking and stared off into the empty space in front of him for a long moment. Ardell waited, slightly concerned that the ancient man may have suffered a stroke mid-conversation. Eventually, however...
Ah, yes, that did it.
Did what, Your Eminence?
I find that walks can be very helpful in evacuating the bowels. Don't you?
Beg your pardon?
Helpful for evacuating the bowels, I say. Would you be so kind as to accompany me to the privy, Lord Redmore?
I would think one of your subordinates would...
No. As you said yourself, privacy is vital.
Well, surely it can wait
No,
until...
your sister spoke the truth. These are not times for taking things lightly.
5 minutes later... You will forgive this particular wood sprite for enjoying the repulsion and discomfort evident on Ardell's face as he stood beside the old man and his gilded chamber pot.
Oh, the research I could do if I weren't always carrying out some ritual or another to keep my bowels moving. Truly, regular bowel movements are wasted on the young. No offence, Lord Redmore.
You were saying, Your Eminence, about the dream?
Ah, yes. Until I can speak with more certainty, I would not alarm anyone with hasty, irresponsible prophesying.
Your Eminence, the servile classes are prone to 3 things: superstition, gossip, and panic. If one has a nightmare, they'll start to talk soon enough, and then we'll have to prevent a panic. But if I know in advance what the rumors are likely to be, we can better prepare to maintain control of the situation.
I see your point, Lord Redmore. I must once again stress that this should not be taken as my official reading of the young girl's dream. But if I had to essay as to how it might likely be read, it could lead some to think the king is a traitor.
Despite his discomfort, Ardell managed to make a passable feint at shock. Inwardly, however, he couldn't be more pleased. Brennen dreamt of an infinite table. Well, we've already covered the limitations of the human mind, etc., etc. He dreamt of an incomprehensibly long table. This particular table was set for an infinite number of guests. But only 3 figures sat around the table. Brennen sat alone on one side. Across from him sat a young girl. Her appearance was exactly the same as it was in Brennen's previous dream, down to the eerily serene look and gaping puncture wound. Beside her sat a figure composed entirely of white light. A golden halo sat on its head. Between Brennen and the 2 figures sat a large, ornate silver platter, which one would expect to hold the main course of the banquet. This platter held the beautiful bird. The bird was splayed out on the silver as if stuffed and roasted, yet clearly still alive. It lifted its graceful red and gold neck and looked directly at Brennen. The bird's obsidian eyes caught Brennen's brown ones for a brief moment before the bird weakly lowered its head. The girl spoke.
There are 7 things you must know to save me. The second thing is, the king has loved my enemy.
From the darkness behind the girl and the creature of light, a 3rd figure materialized, the nightmare demon, the indescribable horror. Neither the girl nor the figure of light could see the demon behind them. In the fashion of nightmares, Brennen found himself unable to act, unable to warn the girl, unable to tear his eyes away from the demon. Almost casually, the demon extended a clawed hand and tore out the throat of the figure of light. The horror carefully lifted the golden halo off of the light and placed it on its own head. As soon as the gold touched the dark skull, the figure of light disappeared. The demon lifted the bird off of the table, its red and gold wings protesting weakly. As the demon tore off the bird's head with its teeth, the golden halo turned red, and blood poured down the demon's face. The sun had barely appeared over the horizon the next morning when Brennen entered the barn.
Good morning, old man.
Regan was sitting the final watch by the door.
Have you seen your charming dear friend? He seems to have disappeared.
You are aware that farmers do actually have business to attend to sometimes.
This early. Keith Kelly had business to attend to.
Keith Kelly.
The one back at the Rat that sold me out? Whose face I set on fire before I drowned him in his own blood?
I've been killing men since before your mother was a coin in some street urchin's pocket. Captain Briarhelm served under me in 4 campaigns.
Bet he did.
You think you can frighten me with threats of violence? Or him?
So do you two still fuck?
You impudent little horsewhelp. You know
I
nothing.
don't care what you put your cock in, Brennan. I just rather know beforehand. Secrets and spurned lovers are a bad combination.
Secrets and disrespectful children are even worse.
Good luck training your fierce warriors up there.
With that, Regan turned and left the barn. Brennen stood in silence for a moment, marinating in his anger. After a deep breath, he turned to the task at hand.
Everyone up. 3 minutes to get dressed and armed.
Some 20 minutes later, the group stood in their best guess at a military formation in the field outside the barn. Their best guess was woefully inadequate. Billy was wearing an odd mix of his old football gear and his new mail, with the extra pieces in a heap at his feet. Jen's hair was dreadfully tangled in her new armor. Even Nelson's armor was disheveled, in that some buckles were belted to the 3rd hole and some to the 4th.
You should understand that had we been ambushed, you'd all be dead right now.
It's my understanding that knights would usually have squires to help them put on armor.
We don't. Plan accordingly.
I'm just saying, I think we did pretty well for our first attempt.
As if to defy Nelson's claim, the codpiece of Billy's armor chose this moment to clatter loudly to the ground. With a sigh, Brennen set to work. The first lesson was in the use of sword and shield.
Nelson, try to strike Billy. Billy, try to block it.
Nelson needed both hands to even get his sword off the ground. With a great heave, he managed to swing the weapon towards Billy. The motion spun Nelson's entire body in a circle, and he nearly fell from the effort. Billy hefted the weight of the sword more comfortably, but no more correctly. As Nelson's swing slowly approached Billy, Billy managed to move his own sword into the path to block the blow. The swords clashed. Rather, they would have clashed if either combatant had any strength or skill behind their blows. Instead, the swords made a rather dull thud.
Wrong! How do you think they blunted those swords? Block with your shield. That's what it's for. If you absolutely must block with your sword, try to deflect the blow. Come, Billy.
The old general made an exaggeratedly slow swing of his own sword directly at Billy's shield. Billy smiled at his perceived success.
Better. Again.
Brennen took another swing at Billy, and then another and another. Billy's use of the shield was surprisingly not abysmal, until the weight of the metal and the shock of the blows began to drag on his shield arm. In a few seconds, he was struggling even to hold the shield, but Brennen would not relent. The old general continued to batter Billy's shield until he dropped it entirely. One sharp tap to the top of the helmet, and Billy was flat on his back on the ground, breathing heavily.
I thought you said you were an athlete.
Brennen quickly realized the futility of teaching the finer points of swordsmanship at this moment, and assigned them the task of working on their arm strength instead. Billy found a suitable beam inside the barn and set to repeatedly hefting his own weight against it in a tactic he called a pull-up. Nelson and Jen were resting beside the barn when Nia approached.
Are we going to learn any magic?
The general wants you to learn some basic fighting skills quickly. You won't get far with magic in just a few days.
Well, I don't exactly think we're cut out for broadswords.
I don't know. I might be able to get it if I work out a little more.
Let's face it, Jen. Neither of us is what you picture when you think famous swordsman.
I see your point. Have a seat.
And so the day of training continued. In the nearby forest, a rabbit, in fact, a distant descendant of the venerable Mr. Fluffytoes, did honor to his ancestor by participating in the noble task of creating new rabbits. This is not particularly relevant to our story, but is more interesting than describing 10 hours of practice with sword and shield. The children worked hard and slept well. The next morning, they reacted to Brennen's 3-minute wake-up call in a mere 8 minutes.
Getting better. Today you might even have had time to beg for mercy before your enemy delivered his killing strike.
Thus convened another rather boring day of training. Brennen continued to drill the children in basic sword work. Their skills slowly improved from embarrassing to simply dreadful. They earned a break for lunch, and then in the afternoon Nia began to teach the children about her abilities.
We are in Jordan, the physical world. Selberin is the spiritual world. Everything in the Yordic plane, the wind, the sea, the rocks, everything, has a counterpart in Selberin. Almost like a reflection. Each Yordic object is bound to the will of its Selberic counterpart. Or more accurately, never mind, let's stay sketchy. The Yordic Ocean is wet because the Selberic Ocean wills it to be so. To use what you call magic is to bend the will of other things to your own. In the tavern, I wanted the beer to be cold, so I reached out to its Selberic essence and bent its will to my own.
Awesome. What spells can we cast right now?
You mustn't try spell casting without extensive study beforehand. It would be extremely dangerous.
But what if one of us was the anointed one, like in Brennan's dream?
I can't claim to know.
You're saying water has a will?
Yes, but it's not that simple. Imagine cutting a drop of water in half. Imagine cutting the halves in half. Imagine cutting a drop of water into parts so small that smaller parts would not be water.
Molecules.
Osselets, they are called. Each osselet in a drop of water has a will. Together they comprise the will of the drop. And the wills of all the drops of water comprise the will of the sea.
So what about those rabbits over there? Or even a person? People are made of osselets. Can you force people to your will the way you force the beer?
Living things certainly have a Selberic essence, but it seems their wills cannot be bent. The scholarship disagrees on why, though this is actually the subject of my research. Some have suggested that enough osselets bound together may form a sort of wall, greater than the sum of its parts. Scripture calls it the uncorruptible soul.
Incredible.
That's what I've been trying to tell you guys about the rich mythology.
No, I mean that they've developed basic atomic theory and an emergent theory of consciousness.
An emergency of what now?
It's a footnote in the bio textbook.
That evening, having been dismayed by what she saw earlier, Regan took her turn at instruction. She fought with her own sword, a modification of the moon crest style. The blade was thin and razor-sharp on one edge. Billy actually managed to get his shield in the way of each strike.
Not bad. You're bleeding, though.
What? Where?
Billy dropped his shield, using his now free arm to feel around for a cut. Regan took that opportunity to flick her blade almost too fast to see. A drop of blood welled up on Billy's left cheek.
Your cheek.
Regan called Nelson in for his first lesson just after dinner. Nelson returned with a cut on his left cheek, and also a peculiar stumble to his gait, a telltale sign of Regan's preferred fighting style.
What happened to you?
I was unscrupulously deceived.
Your turn, girly.
Can you make me some ice, please?
Of course, child.
Jen only shook slightly as she went off into the woods with the armed woman. But when Regan began swinging her blade, Jen held her own with the shield.
Not bad. You're bleeding, though.
Nice try.
Good girl. I thought you were smarter than you let on. Billy, put your clothes back on.
Huh?
As you might have guessed, Billy was nowhere to be seen. Instead, Regan grabbed Jen's hair, pulled her close, and nicked her left cheek with the tip of her blade.
More free advice. Lose the hair. And your little gamecock. One of them will get you killed.
At the end of the 4th day of training, Billy's skills had progressed enough so that he could nearly keep pace with Brennan's drills.
Block, bash, strike, recover, block, bash, strike, recover.
Eventually, however, he still flagged. At the end of one particular drill, as Billy's shield arm slowed, Brennen changed the pattern slightly by throwing a mailed fist directly at Billy's face. The punch stopped a mere whisper's length away from Billy's still quite broken nose.
There's skill to armed combat. Form matters, but at the end of the day, you're still just breaking a man's body until he's dead. Never forget that, lad.
Meanwhile, Jen and Nelson had resumed their instruction with Nia.
So how do you bend the wills of other things?
You must commune with Selberin. Some, like myself, find this easier with the aid of a holy object.
She held aloft her staff.
Others may use song. Summoners employ a familiar from Selberin.
Okay, but none
Wait,
of this...
you're telling me I'm not only in a place where I can become an actual wizard, but I can do it by communing with demons and spirits and shit?
Demons.
Something about the word demon nagged at Jen's memory. It somehow related to a nearly forgotten lecture from Valley Central High School.
Summoning is not to be undertaken lightly. There are dark and chaotic forces in Selberin, as well as benevolent ones. Summoners train for years before their first conjuration to make sure they only contact the forces they want.
As Nelson became enraptured by the talk of spirits, Jen recalled something about a philosopher named Maxwell.
And there are some summoners who intentionally contact the forces of destruction.
She focused intently on a patch of dry
I
grass.
say truly, they lose their souls in the process.
What about incantations?
Some mages find them useful for focusing their minds.
Through her concentration, Jen thought she could detect a tiny wisp of smoke rising from the dry foliage.
Nelson, are you still up the teacher's ass?
Jen's concentration was immediately broken, and the wisp of smoke, if indeed it existed, was gone.
What are you doing over here, Jenny?
She's telling us about emergent theories of consciousness.
Huh?
Something I saw in CSI.
Oh yeah, that show's gay.
Later that evening, Jen and Billy had once again retreated to the privacy of the hayloft. Billy was vigorously applying saliva to Jen's face. Jen's facial expression indicated her mind was elsewhere.
How would you feel if I cut my hair?
What?
Like, if I cut my hair short?
We have to talk about this now?
Well, I was just thinking about it a lot today.
Billy, for once, sensed that there was no recovering the amorous mood. Frustrated, he disentangled himself from Jen.
Like how short? Like lesbian short?
I don't know, like Regan short?
Is that where this is coming from? You want to be like Regan now?
No. God, no. I don't want to be like her, but she knows how to survive around here. Maybe short hair is smart. I'm scared, Billy.
I don't make you feel safe?
No, I didn't mean anything about...
Fine. Cut your hair then. What? Cut it.
I need some fresh air.
Jen turned and stormed down the ladder, as much as one can storm down a ladder. Alone, she paced under the moon and stars. She paced, and the full moon climbed from the horizon up to its apex. Finally, she stopped pacing. Jen grabbed her hair in a fist and pulled it in front of her face. She stared at her beautiful locks for a long moment. With a sigh, she drew the knife from the hilt at her waist and brought the blade up to the base of her ponytail. She was just about to chop it all off when a dirty hand grabbed her wrist. A second hand roughly covered Jen's mouth, preventing her from screaming. With frightening skill, the one hand twisted Jen's wrist until her grip on the knife loosened. The hand then grabbed the knife and placed it firmly at Jen's throat. A stranger's voice hissed at her. "Hello, lovely."
You don't need to get hurt. I just need to know where Arona Regan is. Scream and I'll kill you, though. Understand?
Jen had found herself once more abruptly at the uncomfortable end of a knife. The knife was held by a rather grimy-looking man.
Where is she?
I didn't see her when I got out of bed.
You're making yourself expendable.
Okay. If I were Arona Regan, what would I be doing right now?
Suddenly, Jen's eyes focused past the grimy man's shoulder as she gestured wildly with both hands, pointing behind the man.
I'd be running away behind you.
What?
The grimy man turned his back on Jen. Jen, as you may have guessed, had recalled Arona Regan's preferred fighting style and took the opportunity her lie had created to kick the man, as Billy would say, square in the nuts. Her assailant doubled over in pain, dropping the knife in the process. Jen grabbed the blade and ran towards the barn.
Wake up! Wake up!
Brennen had been on watch at the door of the barn. In no time at all, he was running to Jen. He took a quick look around the field to assess the situation and then herded Jen back into the building. Yelloween was already prepared for a battle, bow drawn. Nia stood with her staff at the ready, although she couldn't quite mask the fear in her eyes. Nelson was fumbling with his armor, barely awake.
Out here with me. Where's Regan?
She wasn't here when I awoke.
Good thinking. Hide the children, too.
Nia grabbed Nelson by the hand and pulled him towards the ladder up to the loft. Jen followed. Halfway up the ladder, they ran into Billy, who was climbing down with most of his armor surprisingly put on correctly.
Where are you going?
I heard Jen yell.
Get over there. Stay low. Stay quiet.
What? We've been training to fight.
For a week. They've trained their whole lives. Now hide.
Brennen and Yelloween ran out of the barn. They ran directly into a semicircle of men who had been watching the entrance to the barn with their own weapons raised.
This don't have to be a bloodbath. Just tell us where Arona Regan is. I wish we knew. Well, you're gonna help us look, or we're gonna kill you all.
All the armed men wore a blue bandana around their left arms, indicating their affiliation to the same mercenary company.
You sewer trash. Have you any idea whom you're threatening?
Don't really give a sword.
The men all snickered at this, as though it were a clever joke. Nia and the children found a small window that looked out over the barn entrance. From this vantage, they could see the excitement outside and just barely hear the conversation.
This is bullshit.
Oh, you serve the High King, do you? Why didn't you say so?
People keep trying to kill us, and we gotta be pussies about it?
Be quiet.
We can't kill you then. It'd make us outlaws.
The men all burst out laughing.
Stop talking, before I put this knife up your arse.
What in Selburn are you doing out here?
At that moment, a second group of extremely dirty, heavily armed men came running out of the woods. These men all had red bandanas around their right arms.
Rickard?
Anders? Is that you?
I suppose we's out here for the same thing.
Not every day someone tells you where to find the thief queen of Armstrungard.
At this, Brennen paid careful attention.
I thought I was the only one crazy enough to believe that old buggering popper, though.
In the part of a man's mind that makes horrible truths unavoidable once made plain, Brennen immediately realized to whom this comment referred.
How do you suppose we resolve this?
I think that's obvious. We was here first.
No, you wasn't. We was waiting in them woods all day to ambush her. You just come running out first.
Well, we ain't going anywhere.
Yelloween swung his bow back and forth between the leaders of the two groups, unsure of which was the more urgent target.
Neither are we. Which means we can either cut each other to pieces and wait for Arona Regan to finish us off, or we can split the bounty. Now, be honest, 15 men against Arona Regan's a gamble anyway.
All right, you sneaky bastard. You've got yourself a goddamn deal.
The two crews of mercenaries, who had turned their weapons towards each other earlier, now turned their swords towards their common purpose, Brennen and Yelloween. 30 men now stood against the old soldier and the young elf.
You finish off these two. I'll try around back, and we'll sort out the money later.
Sounds like a night at your mom's house.
That quip, of course, came from the infinitely clever mind of Billy. He had been listening to the whole conversation from above and decided to ignore Nia's warnings. The sellsword's response, however, was entirely unexpected.
You backstabbing sod! I told you my family history in confidence.
I never told no one.
You lie!
How dare you? It's not my fault your mum would drop her breeches for a half-piece.
How's about we bring up your drunkard of a father?
Don't you dare!
Can't say I blame him. I'd drink myself stupid too if I'd stuck my cock in your sow of a mum and all I had to show for it was you.
I'll wear your eggs for a necklace, you shit!
All of a sudden, the two mercenary captains were fighting each other, their swords clashing loudly. The rest of each company followed suit, and within moments, an all-out brawl between the Red Arms and the Blue Arms had commenced. Brennen and Yellowin stood not 2 feet away, utterly forgotten by the mercenaries.
I need to see to the children. Can you clean up what's left here?
Should not be a problem.
Brennan went into the barn and found the rest of the party in the loft.
What the fuck's going on out there?
Nia, that was quick thinking with Regan. But I need to know where she is now.
Quick thinking.
Saying you hadn't seen her.
I haven't seen her.
Any of you?
Brennan had another moment of horrible realization and rushed back down the ladder. Outside, Yellowin watched with the expression of a fanatic at a sporting event. The two mercenary leaders locked in single combat, the corpses of their followers strewn at their feet. The Red Armband saw an opening and pushed forward, only to slip on a pile of gore from one of his fallen comrades. Blue Armband did not waste his opportunity, smashing his mace into his opponent's face. Red Armband crumpled, and Blue Armband raised his hands in celebration. His celebration was rather short-lived, though, as an arrow pierced his left eye. For good measure, Yellowin put another into Red Armband as well. Brennen sprinted past. Brennen found Bowen Briarhelm sitting alone at the head of his table, lit only by moonlight. Empty bottles were strewn around the former soldier.
Now we're square.
Those men could have killed any of my charges, even the innocent ones.
And you killed me the second you brought her here. I asked you, Brennen, I asked you if she was trouble. I came the closest I'll ever come to begging. And you lied.
I could have protected you if you hadn't betrayed us.
From some snot-nosed bounty killers, sure. What about the bankers?
I offered you money.
I'll
just
be
like
damned for I take a coin of your fucking allowance from Gunther.
Then that's your pride, damn you. I'm not innocent, but don't dare lay this all at my feet.
You've some nerve to talk to me about pride, you son of a whore. After all your talk about what's expected of a man.
Honor isn't it the same as pride?
No, pride's when you refuse to break the rules you set for yourself. Honor's when you let everyone else set the rules for you.
Honor is all we have when men cannot be trusted to set rules for themselves.
It's so easy for you, isn't it? So easy when you can hide what you want behind honourable things.
It's never been easy. That's why they call it honor.
Was it easy to ruin me with a lie?
Was it easy for you to betray us?
You first.
My hands were tied, Bowen. My orders...
God damn you, you're lying again. Don't hide behind orders or honour or duty. How is His Majesty?
Old, sick, and under siege.
Me too? To answer your question, yes. When I overheard those sword-clanging peasants in the bar and realized several brandies into the day that you lied, yes, betraying you was the easiest thing I've ever fucking done. Well, maybe the second easiest. It's dealing with it after I done it that's hard. You came here to kill me before she does, didn't you?
Bowen.
Lying to a dying man's a curse on your house.
Aye.
But now that you're looking me in the eyes, you ain't got the piss in you to do it, have you?
No.
But you can't stop her, can you?
30 years ago, maybe.
If what I've heard about her is true, you let a mad bitch off the chain.
I don't think she's mad. I think she spent her whole life trapped in a corner.
Haven't we all?
Then, Bowen Briarhelm let out a soft groan. Blood burbled out of his mouth, and his eyes rolled sickeningly. Regan twisted her sword between Briarhelm's neck and shoulder, and then yanked it free. Blood sprayed from the body, covering the rogue and a large portion of the room.
I suppose it would have been naive to ask you to show him mercy.
That was mercy. What did he want done with his body?
Had Regan been anyone other than who she was, the blankness on Brennen's face would have terrified her. She left him alone to his emotions, but returned a few moments later, dragging the corpse of one of the mercenaries behind her. This mercenary, notably, was built similarly to the late Bowen Briarhelm. Moreover, he had had his face mutilated beyond recognition.
You're gonna help me get this guy into your friend's clothes. Then you can do whatever you want with his body. But make damn sure you bury him deep enough that no one will find him. And Brennen? Now we're square.
For additional information and bonus content, access onceandfuturenerd.com on your computer machine. New episodes are released every other Sunday. The Once and Future Nerd is written and created by Zach Glass and Christian Madera, and directed and edited by Christian Madera. It is performed by Garrett Armin, Hayes Dunlop, Anya Gibeon, Ian Harkins, Emily Kukuk, Frank Querez, Julie Reed, Perry Strong, and Dylan Uremovich. It is co-executive produced by Jess Kelly.
Production sound engineering is done by Gary O'Keefe, with dialogue editing and Foley by Tommy Stang, and post-production mixing and sound design by Sandra Ramirez. Theme music is composed by Tom Lee.
Thanks for downloading.